Okay. Um, as is usual, I have no idea what I'm doing. But welcome and thanks for coming to check out another Theory Thursday. I am the Theoretical Theorist, and we are continuing on with our Zelda theory. As I've said before, it's only going to get juicier from here. So, if I guess let's just get into it. So today's theory, it's going to kind of branch off of last times. Last time we discussed the divergence and why exactly the timeline split into three separate timelines. And we'll kind of recap on that a little bit as we go through this. But mainly I just want to kind of go over, the what, the how, the why, so that we kind of have a little background and more explanation, because it probably was a little bit hard of a theme or idea to grasp without some context. So without further ado, I guess let's get into it. So first of all, let's recap what the Triforce is. There's three parts. There's the Triforce of Courage, the Triforce of Wisdom, the Triforce of Power, and coordinating with those is actually represented to a god. You have Faror, the goddess of courage, Nehru, the goddess of wisdom, and of course Din, the goddess of power. So these are essentially almost their embodiments of their power on Earth. And it does a lot of things for I guess Hyrule's Earth or whatever. But it does a lot of things for it, like tie time together, essentially. So that's not the only thing that they represent. They also represent elements. Obviously, green for wind. I don't know. It's blue for water, for wisdom, and then red for fire. You'll see why I had to stop and think about that for a second. In just a moment. All of these pictures that you're seeing on screen, I got off Google. I'll link where I got them from and give them credit to people in the video when I do all the editing and stuff like that. But yeah, so these have specific meanings, and their power comes from specific gods who are specifically gods of a certain thing, if that makes sense. Again, I know, getting redundant. Power, wisdom, courage. Just keep that in mind. Alright. Anyways, so like I said, we talked about the divergence last time. There's the three pieces of the Triforce, there's the timelines, and then there's the three themes. And each of the timeline, if you look at it, there seems to be some sort of theme. And today we're going to kind of go over that and break that down so you understand what I mean, because it's kind of hard to get at a glance. Honestly, one of them I still haven't completely figured out. My idea is kind of shaky on that one, but it's something that kind of fits and goes with it. So that's what I'm using today. So again, three pieces, three timelines, three themes. And of course, we are going to start out with the timeline of courage. This timeline involves, Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, the Four Swords. These are moments of bravery for Link, including him going back in the first place, after being an adult, after living this other life in the future and knowing what could come. He had to essentially have the courage to go back to being a child and hope and pray and that everything is going to work out. He's not there at tail end of things to try to get it. He has to just rely on other people for the next 7 years, it is, I believe. So it is an undertaking for him, and that's where he finds his courage first, and then he has to take the courage of going off on his own. And this is kind of what we see in that timeline. He gets upon Epona, leaves Zelda, and then finds a man in the woods who's being harassed, and ends up falling into, as we all know, Majora's Mask in another world where he has to have the courage to, become human again, or Hylian, or whatever you want to call him. And, the whole game is about the courage of a young child stopping the end of a world he's never even been to. until then. Twilight Princess, more of the same thing. It's this time, that Ganon, who of course was supposed to be executed, wasn't. He was literally stabbed, and yet he was still able to live. So that I can understand how that also goes into the whole courage of things. That's quite an undertaking. You're going to defeat that, plus an entire other realm of bads, big bads. Yeah, it's all about courage. Four Swords was the same thing, but 4 times the courage. Anyways, you get the idea. The theme is essentially Link has to be courageous in some sort of adventure, and it's all generally around courage. Oh yeah, but they can all say that because it's all about Link. Yes, I know. It's something that's kind of a theme in all the games a little bit, but these 3 games specifically feature more courage than anything. And I'll get to some of the other ones, and maybe as I go along, you'll start to understand more what I mean. So, again, this was supposed to say stuff. We'll skip that. Essentially, I was gonna explain, some stuff. Hold on a second. That doesn't help. Oh, did it not copy? Did it remove itself? Whoa. What's going on here, man? Try that again. Anyways, the Divergence. As we went over, I'm just going to recap on courage side of things. The Divergence, the 3 priests. Triforce, we have courage. 3 timelines. We have the child timelines. And the 3 things so far, we have Link braving unforeseen difficulties. That was the best way that I knew how to phrase that. Ignore the ranting if that helps. Next timeline, we have the timeline of wisdom. This includes games like The Wind Waker, Phantom Hourglass, Spirit Tracks. Common theme in this is Link looks for guidance or is accompanied by wise people, specifically line boats, essentially God incarnates. The other theme within the timeline of wisdom is actually having to reassemble the Triforce pieces. So this isn't a foreign concept to the games either. There's several games that you can play where you have to put the Triforce back together in one way or another. So it's not inherently tied to itself. There's no, it's always one. And I feel like this is they kind of hinted at it, because I'll get to it in the next video, what I mean by that. I just kind of, drop little teasers here for you guys. But they did a very good job with this. If this turns out to be true, and honestly, the more I get into it, the more I think it is. But yeah. So again, and the piece of Triforce for that's going to be the wisdom. Obviously, we got Nehru right there holding it down. That's the adult timeline, if anybody was wondering. And then, of course, the theme, Link is accompanied and assisted by the wise. He seeks counsel. Something that, he kind of does, again, in some of the other games, but not as heavy. And I do believe that in each of the individual timelines, the piece that was left tried to rebuild itself. But if you've seen one of the latest Rick and Morty episodes, you know that people tend to build to their nature. And that's what the goddesses did when they created the Triforce. They each made a piece based on their nature. So I believe, and this is just, again, a theoretical theorist, or a theoretical theory, I'm getting used to it, that would mean that the Triforces themselves trying to create other pieces of Triforce would tend to leave a little bit more room for wiggle towards their own desires and capabilities. While the Triforce of Power might be able to create a piece of wisdom and a piece of courage, I don't think those would be true pieces, as, again, it's created by the power of the Triforce. And it's, sorry for the booms. I know it's Theory Thursday for you guys, but it's actually July 3rd for me. I am doing this a little bit early so I can try to get ahead of the editing. As of right now, it's a one-man operation. Alright. So, that brings us to probably the most active line. And one of the earliest, I guess, if you want to look at things. And that's going to be the timeline of power. This incorporates almost twice as many games as twice as many games as every other one. There's Link to the Past, Link's Awakening, Link Between Worlds, Triforce Heroes, Legend of Zelda, and Adventure of Link. Common theme here is power. It's honestly really, really easy to see this one. This is probably one that sticks out the most to me, because throughout this timeline, Hyrule, Ganon, and I believe Vati is his name, or maybe I'm mixing them up right now, but they all come to power, and that's really what the games are more about, is Link solving the problems that have to do with people gaining power. And I think I wrote it a different way. Yeah, Ganon, Hyrule's other cities can obtain power as everything goes to shit. But that's essentially what happens, is shit goes to shit. Link has to come in and save the day. It is very, very interesting, specifically this one, and I'm gonna have to back out again. I know, we were doing this before. I don't know what this is. It's a new thing. Oh God, new stuff. That. Zelda, I think it's Adventure of Link. This is really interesting. Or is it... What are we on? It is The Legend of Zelda, yes. Okay, The Legend. Right here. Okay. Let's go look at this. And plot. I know, I probably should have gotten this ready. I didn't actually think I'd be going this into detail. See, this is why I actually chose this kind of style, is because I can really get into it. It's almost like I'm having a conversation with somebody out. Oh no, Breath of the Wild. Gosh. Story. Okay, so in this one, and this is what I wanted to point out, in this one, again, he has to actually locate and complete the Triforce of Wisdom. Okay, which is what they have to do in the Wisdom timeline. And this is you know what? Let me stop there. That's next episode. Anyways, let's recap this. A couple things that we've talked about today. The timeline slipped because the Triforce was moved through time, creating an unbalanced existence. Right? Alright, this is what created the new timeline to try and complete itself, as it holds reality essentially together. This results in 3 timelines marked by a common theme, based on which piece of the Triforce is within that timeline originally. And yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to cover today. As you noticed, I almost got off topic because it's an amazing theory, and it's super huge. I don't even know what we're at for time right now, but next Thursday we will go into what I was kind of starting on. It'll be fun. It's going to be really exciting. Like I said, there's a lot of research that went into this. Almost a year. This almost took many forms. I chose this one because it felt more honest and it felt more me. I feel like I can treat you like another person. Just look at the camera and talk to you like I'm BSing with my friends inside my house. And this is what I do. I take an idea and I incorporate other ideas and I expand on them and I run with it. I love doing this, and I hope you guys enjoy these theories as we get farther and farther into what may be the grandest, nay, greatest Zelda theory out there. I'm the Theoretical Theorist. Thank you for watching another Theoretical Theory. I'll catch you next time.